Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Cutter Top 10 NBA telecast as I rock the Toronto Raptors jersey and all that. So, we are going to be taking a look at the top 10 NBA lopsided trades in history. Because I did top 10 worst and best trades in NBA history, but we need to do the lopsided trades, as in, like, one team getting good players and one team getting shitty players and all that. So, anyhow, we're going to be taking a look at 10 of them, and that's what we'll do. All right. So, number 10 is Kyle Lowry, as I rock number 7, to the Toronto Raptors for Gary Forbes and a first round pick. It was massively lopsided that the Raptors got this decent player, Kyle Lowry. He was okay for Houston. He wasn't like a superstar, but Kyle Lowry was pretty good for Houston. And then they traded him to the Raptors for Gary Forbes and a first round pick. I mean, I don't think Houston did well with the first round pick, but yeah, Gary Forbes, like, the Raptors had to trade Gary Forbes to Houston to get Kyle Lowry, and it worked out for us. It really did. So that's what ended up happening and all that. Number 9 is Brooklyn getting Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett from the Celtics. Boston was making a big three team. We will talk about Kevin Garnett later on in the thing for another team. But yeah, Boston shocked a lot of people by getting rid of Pierce and Garnett to Brooklyn for multiple first round picks. Brooklyn knew that they could get KG and Paul Pierce to help him out. And in 2013, they did. They traded away multiple first round picks to Boston to get these two guys. Paul Pierce was always going to be Boston royalty, and Kevin Garnett kind of Minnesota/Boston. But the fact of the matter is, Boston rebuilt with the picks. Brooklyn's gamble actually did okay. Like the first round against the Raptors in 2014, they actually beat Toronto in Game 7 in Toronto. And, Pierce and Garnett were the big heroes. And Brooklyn did fall in the second round. But in essence, Paul Pierce left for Washington and he made a famous game winning shot against the Hawks. Kevin Garnett was basically taking money to stay with Brooklyn and all that and faltering. So, anyway, that's just how it goes. Number 8 is the Golden State Warriors getting Chris Webber in 1993. So how Chris Webber became a Golden State Warrior was huge and all that. In 1993, Webber was with Michigan, and yeah, he did that infamous timeout that they didn't have any. Michigan lost the title to North Carolina. C-Web decided to declare for the NBA draft. The other 4 of the Fab Five stayed in Michigan. Chris Webber was almost the consensus number 1 pick. And of course, the NBA lottery, when they did the lottery, Orlando had 1 ball out of 66. They had just missed the playoffs by 1 game. But Orlando, even though they had a rookie Shaq, they almost got the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, Chris Webber fell in their laps because Orlando had the 1 ball out of 66. So Orlando had back-to-back number 1 picks. But Orlando decided to trade C-Web after picking up 2 Golden State for Penny Hardaway. It actually worked out for Orlando because Penny Hardaway was pretty good alongside Shaq and got Orlando to the 95 finals. C-Web lasted 1 year with Golden State, didn't like the system, and then got traded away to Washington and eventually to Sacramento. It was just a sour move and all that. But yeah, Penny Hardaway and all that. So that was kind of a gigantic move and all that. Okay. I was thinking about Vince Carter trading away in 2005, being traded from Toronto to New Jersey for Alonzo Mourning and 2 other players, and of course, Mourning refusing to play for Toronto. That would have been huge, but it kind of gets an honorable mention, I guess. Because I just thought of one trade that was not on my list, but it is on my list, to be fair. So I just have to do some. What do I do here? Where do I put it? 3, I think. So yeah, I just have to do some building here, as I just thought of a trade, and that was number 7, right? Oh no, number 7 is coming up soon. Yeah, number 7 is coming up. All right, all right. Essence of live TV. Okay, number 7 is the Chicago Bulls getting Scottie Pippen from the Sonics. So Scottie Pippen was a decent player for Central Arkansas and all that. Seattle thought they could use him, so they picked him up in the eighth pick of the draft. However, Chicago wanted Scottie Pippen and all that. Well, Seattle actually uh, made a big move. Chicago gave Seattle Olden Polanese as a center, a few second year center, I guess, from the Bulls to the Sonics in exchange for the rights to Scottie Pippen. Polanese did okay for Seattle. He wasn't the superstar, but he was good. And then of a freaking sudden, Scottie Pippen became, well, he was the second banana to MJ. But I mean, a second banana to MJ is better than being a second banana to Kevin Garnett. So that was huge and all that. But yeah, Scottie Pippen was just good and all that. He was kind of a malcontent, if you will, but what can you do? Number 6 is Dallas picking up Dirk Nowitzki in 1998. Another massive draft day trade and all that happened in 1998. And the Mavericks and Milwaukee decided to make a trade. All that. Milwaukee drafted Dirk Nowitzki from Germany, where they were going to make a move. However, Dallas saw something in Dirk Nowitzki and decided to pick him up. They also made a trade to get Steve Nash from Phoenix, who wasn't doing much for Phoenix's first few seasons in the NBA. So Dallas picked up Dirk Nowitzki from Milwaukee, well, the rights to Dirk Nowitzki from Milwaukee for the one of Robert Tracker Trailer, who passed away recently. But yeah, Robert Trailer, the big guy from Michigan who once lost his pants on the court. But yeah, Dallas took Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash. Nash would flourish with his second territory with Phoenix, but still, Nowitzki was there for Dallas in the main one, and he never played for another team. Sure, he was drafted by Milwaukee, but he didn't play for the Milwaukee Bucks, so he was still a one-team player. It's like Kobe. Like Kobe was drafted by Charlotte, but then traded to the Lakers for Flatty freaking Divac. That should have been a massive trade too. But although Divac did help the Hornets out in a sense. And of course, in '98, another honorable mention is the draft day trade between the Warriors and the Raptors. The Warriors picked up Vince Carter. They drafted Vince Carter, and the Raptors drafted Anton Jamison. Both of them were North Carolina teammates. So Golden State decided to get rid of Carter for the one of Anton Jamison, thinking that Jamison was a better fit. It was kind of one of the best draft day win-win trades of all time because Jamison was good for Golden State. I'll say that much. The Raptors got Vince Carter, and the rest was freaking history. So that's that. Number 5 is Houston trading away a lot of players for James Harden. Now, Oklahoma City had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant on the same freaking team. Can you imagine those 3 MVPs at one time, like the MVPs on the same team? Like Oklahoma City did get to the 2011 final, but lost to 2012, excuse me, lost to the Heat. So Oklahoma City didn't think James Harden was going to stay with the team, so they traded him to Houston for Kevin Martin, not the curler, Jeremy Lamb, and draft picks. Oklahoma City kind of did okay with the draft picks, but it wasn't meant to be. James Harden became a superstar, won an MVP. OKC's return never matched his impact. Westbrook would soon leave for greener pastures like the Lakers, and Kevin Durant decided to title chase with the Golden State Warriors, which worked out in their favor, but Oklahoma City fell apart. Thankfully, though, they are the defending champs as of this taping, so good news for Oklahoma City. But yeah, James Harden was just good. The beard has to come. He's still playing. He's playing for the Sixers. No, he plays for Cleveland. Sorry, I would say the Sixers, but Harden beat the Raptors in the playoffs, so fuck. Okay, number 4 is the Lakers picking up Pau Gasol from the Memphis Grizzlies. Pau Gasol was a great player from Spain. I don't remember if Vancouver had drafted him. I think Vancouver drafted him, but then the team went to Memphis. So yeah, Pau Gasol never was a Vancouver Grizzly. He was a Memphis Grizzly. But the fact of the matter is that he was decent and all that. So Memphis had a good center. The Lakers were title chasing in 2008 and decided to pick up Paul Gasol. They traded away draft picks. Kwame Brown, who was a massive flop, especially being the number one draft pick in 2001 from Washington, as MJ picked him, a high schooler, over many other players. Javers Critton, and worst of all, Marc Gasol. It is a rarity. I don't remember the NHL ever seeing brother being traded for brother like the Lakers did. Well, I don't remember the NFL having a brother for brother trade and the MLB. I mean, Roberto and Sandy Elmore Jr. were traded together from San Diego. So I got traded. I don't know. I don't know. I'm spinning my wheels. Tee. But anyway, yeah, the Lakers traded Marc Gasol for Pau Gasol. Marc Gasol did well for Memphis. The Raptors picked him up for Jonas Valanciunas, and that worked out for the Raptors. Marc Gasol got a ring with the Raptors. But yeah, Pau Gasol was instrumental, 2 titles and all that. Marc Gasol later developed into an All-Star, but it took a while for the Lakers. Number 3 is Milwaukee getting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1975. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or as he was known in college in UCLA as Lou Alcindor, was a pretty good player. He was strong, he was talented, and Milwaukee ended up beating Phoenix on the coin flip to get the number one draft pick, and they took Kareem. He helped them win the 1971 title. They were close in 74, losing to the Celtics, but Kareem was not happy. He thought that Milwaukee was not a viable place for him to market himself. So he asked for a trade to either New York or Los Angeles. Los Angeles gave Milwaukee the best offer. It was 4 players from the Lakers to the Bucks. Although one of them was Junior Bridgman, who was a pretty good player for Louisville, and he was an entrepreneur in the Milwaukee area too. So yeah, Junior Bridgman went to Milwaukee. That wasn't half bad. However, the Bucks got rid of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He went to Los Angeles. He won 5 championships as a Laker and all that. He was big. He was even in Airplane, that film in 1980, basically telling little Joey that, have your old man drag players up and down the court for 48 minutes. Yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a legend and all that. Number 2 is the Celtics Warriors draft day trade in 1980. People forget about this trade, but this was massively lopsided. So, Boston had the number one draft pick. They sucked and all that. This was Larry Bird's inaugural season in the NBA. Magic's inaugural season with the Lakers worked out as a title. But yeah, Boston had the number one draft pick. But Golden State wanted that number one pick because they had a guy on their mind by the name of Joe Barry Carroll, who was a great center for Purdue. So Boston gave up the number one draft pick to Golden State in exchange for Robert the Chief Parrish and the number 3 draft pick. So Golden State took Joe Barry Carroll. I can't remember who the number 2 pick was in 1980, but then the number 3 pick went to Boston, and they took this guy from Minnesota by the name of Kevin McHale. And that worked out. Boston got 2/3 of their big 3, their 1980s big 3, with McHale and Parrish in that trade. And then, of course, pairing up with Larry Bird. The rest was history in the 1980s for the Celtics, winning 3 titles. And Golden State had egg on their face, especially with Joe Barry Carroll deciding to leave in the middle of his NBA career to go to play for Italy, won an Italian League MVP, came back to Golden State, was not the same. And basically, Joe Barry Carroll's initials JBC in Golden State meant Joe barely cares. So that was a brutal one. And number 1, without a freaking doubt, is the Celtics getting Kevin Garnett, the big ticket in 2007. Kevin Garnett was good. He came out of high school, 5th overall in 1995. Minnesota picked him up, of course, when high schoolers were allowed to play in the NBA. And, Garnett became the second high schooler to be drafted after 1975. Can't remember who the first one was off the top of my head. But yeah, Kevin Garnett was a good player for Minnesota. They just couldn't get past the Lakers in the playoffs and all that. They just couldn't do well. So Minnesota figured Kevin Garnett deserved to play somewhere else. So they traded Kevin Garnett to the Celtics in exchange for Al Jefferson, Ryan Gomes, Sebastian Telfair, Gerald Green, Phil Ratliff, and draft picks. Al Jefferson was a good player for the Pacers. Ryan Gomes, he was kind of a flash in the pan. Sebastian Telfair was a good player for the Trailblazers. Gerald Green was a slam dunk icon. Theo Ratliff was more known for a Hawk and Sixer icon in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the draft picks. Minnesota struggled to rebuild. They were ineffective for a while. And I do believe one or two first round picks. I think one first round pick went to Minnesota in 2008, and they had a chance to get Steph Curry, but they decided to go for Ricky Rubio and some other hack. Uh, the guy from Syracuse. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I say McCollum, but I'm wrong. But yeah, Minnesota had two chances to pick Steph Curry. Of course, one of them was the pick from Boston. But yeah, Boston would work out their big three. Kevin Garnett joined Paul Pierce, who was already a Celtic for almost a decade. And the Celtics ended up getting Ray Allen in a separate deal. So Kevin Garnett helped Boston become the 2008 NBA champs. The Minnesota couldn't rebuild. And Kevin Garnett told us that anything's possible! Just like that. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Jeff. I'm going to do.